Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from BidAmount.com. Today is Friday, May 19th, 2017. And as always, we're going to take a look back at the catalog last week in the newsletter, see how it did. There it is. We had a lot of things in there from A to Z. We've been getting some very nice feedback from people, thank you, who like the new layout a lot better. We've been able to find a way to add a lot more items, search for them better, and we can turn up more interesting things that we can check out before we share them with you. And here they all are. And I wanted to get started on this because this is an interesting thing. This was a nice crosshatch decorated Ming Dynasty Celadon incense burner we found. This pattern you also see a lot on vases. Perfectly nice example, and it did pretty well. It brought $898. It was 10 inches wide. Always check incense burners, check the measurements the seller puts down, because for some reason visually incense burners without something else around them tend to look much smaller than they are. It's a good sized burner. But what's interesting is that if you looked at the newsletter and you looked at the very bottom, you notice we included this buy it now item last week. It's still on there. This is an 11-inch incense burner, and it's a bit older than the other one. But it's a buy it now item, and I know everybody likes, you know, they want to buy everything at auction, try to get a good steal. All right, this item already is a steal. Okay, he's got it listed for $999, which means he probably would take $850 or $900, about what the other one brought. It's larger than the other one, and it's older than the other one, I think. The decoration on it here, the way this carving is done, and I really like this combed wavy border around it, which you see typically on early 16th century, late 15th century burners. It's a good one. Looks as though somebody had kept a plant in at one point with this line around it, but it's a nice old incense burner, and I suspect you could buy it for a lot less than you would have to pay if it was put up for auction. So if you're just buying because you like to buy at auctions, that's one thing. But if you're looking to buy something nice, that's a pretty good thing. And I think at auction it would bring probably $1,300 to $1,600. All right, now on to this. A rather nice famille rose plate, Republican period. I think the seller had it up as late 19th. I don't think so. I think it's Republican, but beautifully done. Nice looking plate, very open, very 18th century in style, with this bird on it and the giant peonies. And whenever you see these black birds, always think of late 19th Republican period things. It was a popular pattern. Sometimes you see them done in pairs. All right, this plate actually has a Kangxi mark on it as an old label. Somebody tried to sell it as Kangxi. It isn't Kangxi, and everybody knows that, but you know, they gave it a shot. Anyway, this is a nice little iron oxide rim there, ring right between the paste and the end of the glaze. And there's some iron deposits there that came through in the firing. Perfectly nice plate. Went for $922, which is a nice price for that. It's not too much, and not too little. So there you go. And then we had this. This is a seller, Ocelitho, over in Cambridge, Massachusetts, had this. There's a very nice Blanc de Chine figure of Adam. Rather unusual subject matter. Very nice. And this is the interesting thing. It was originally sold by E.J. Frankel in New York. There's their label. Very well-known dealer in the city. Very good gallery. They sell top-end things. And it had the receipt from it. It sold to a fellow named Stephen Henry in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on July 25th, 92. Okay, 25 years ago. And he paid $2,416 for it back then. Apparently, he knows them through the show down there, according to the receipt. Any event, this time around, it went for a lot less. So you give you a feeling for markups in New York. It went for $1,183. A very nice figure, though, and I hope that somebody that got it really enjoys it. Okay, it has. You might have remembered last week, the Christie sale and Sotheby's both had very good luck with Blanc de Chine figures. I think one of them went over 100,000, as I recall. Now you have this. This was a seller, Tabgatch, in Europe, had this. This is a beautiful dragon rondelle with gilt thread, clouds, swirling bats, everything going on it. But I love the way the dragon was done. Beautifully done dragon, probably an early 19th century piece. Terrific quality. And it went for $2,600, so a lot of people liked it, apparently. And then there was this Wuxi late Ming incense burner. Unfortunately, it's missing the lid. All right, it had a lid in here at one point, and it's gone, obviously. But a nice old example. The form is typical of the Wanli late Ming period. It's based on an archaic bronze form, rather well done. A little glazed fritting on it, and it went at a fair price. It went for $760. All right, which is fine. And the seller, Spencer Thomas, is somebody new to us that we've been sort of keeping an eye on. He gets good things. And then there was this Kangxi plate with overglazed blue enamels, and beautifully done. This example had the Kirin in the center. The photographer, he didn't square the thing when he took the picture. It's tipped. But at any rate, he's snarling up at the ascending phoenix, the descending phoenix. And I love these lappet borders that go out. It's a molded dish. There's the back of it. Nice example. And it went for $865. And came from another new seller we came across over in the UK. And then there was this a Kangxi period cup and saucer, cup and plate set with fish and crayfish and crabs and whatnot. It's sort of a famous pattern that started during the Ming dynasty. But you notice it's all overglazed blue and beautifully done. There's the bottom of it. A nice Kangxi set. Nice thing. Nice to find the cup and the saucer together. The marks all match up. And it did pretty well. It brought $1,065, which is a good price for that. But I think it's a very collectible item. And there was these. This seller had up, I think, 4 or 5 nice armorial pots. And so you have this. Like I said a minute ago, a phone call came in I had to take. Wonderful armorial teapot, beautiful gilding all the way around. Has these one hairline in the handle here, and it didn't seem to affect the price much. All these pots did pretty well. Armorial wares are, of course, very collected. It brought $1,455 with a little bit of gilt wear and a old fracture to the handle. All right. And there was this fan. I mentioned this fan last week because I thought it was a really lovely one. And at the time, it was only up to, I think, $500 or something. This is a good export fan. And it did very well. I think we had mentioned that it might bring $1,500 or $1,700. And it did. That's what it brought. It brought $1,558. Nice example from Mart 55. They are sellers in Madrid, Spain. They specialize in fans. All kinds of fans, French fans too. And there was this. This is a rather nice Guangzhou spittoon Jidao, but very delicately painted. I love the way this was painted. Very nicely done. Lots of negative space all around it. And sort of these framed cartouches, typically done like lotus leaves or something like that. And they were done with trimmed with flowers. Just beautiful quality, nice piece, and did quite well. It brought $1,834. I guess a lot of people liked it, and Arthur Potts had that. And we have this, the nice late Ming or Shunzi period, early Qing wuxi planter or pot. Very nicely done. It's got some glazed crackle, as you can see in here. I think it had an old fracture somewhere on the bottom, an old fissure somewhere running through the base of this thing. This is from the firing, those lines in the middle, that's normal. Nice deep iron oxide line trimming it, and it did pretty well. It brought $445. These are still quite buyable and reasonable in many cases, especially if they're not vases. Then we came across this. I liked this. This was a nice relief worked box, and with cover on a stand to go on a table box. Possibly for ink or incense, and beautifully done with bats and Shao characters. I want to show you the lid to this. The top is beautifully done. There you go, with geese and tall grass. Very, very nice box. Probably late 19th century. I don't think it's an extremely old thing. I just think it's a really finely done thing. And it brought $1,000, and I think that was a very good buy. I think somebody got a really nice buy on that, actually. Just an excellent thing. And then there was this. This was put up by a seller who got into a lot of early wares, early pottery. This is a Sung piece. And what was interesting about it was a nice creamy glaze on it, well shaped. There's little pinch lines along the side. But if you bothered to look at the photos, you'll see a sticker on there belonging to Matthias Komor. He was one of the most important Asian art dealers in the world. He was based in New York City, and he was a follower. He was the follower along behind C.T. Liu, another famous dealer. And this was something he had sold. There it is. This had apparently gone through a Sotheby's sale, And this fellow bought it, and there's the inside of it. A nice piece. Kimura supplied a lot of collections. This seller is Shack Antiques, another fairly new seller, and it brought $1,575. It's a nice piece of Sung pottery, or the cream glaze, slip glaze. And there was this 18th century bowl with a very nice diaper pattern and figural landscapes and buildings and so forth all the way around. Nice looking bottom on it. And it didn't bring a lot of money for this reason here. One, there's a fair bit of wear to the glaze on the inside. And it had a hairline with a chip associated to it right here coming down. And there's another hairline over here. And there's another one over here. It had quite a few lines in it. So it held the price back. I think it probably would have brought $2,000 or $3,000 without them. As it was, it brought $520, which was a pretty nice buy if you don't care, if you're not a condition nut. I think this condition business has gone way too far. Perfectly great things can be bought these days for very reasonable prices. And then you have this really nice, I like peaking enamel. This is a nice one, probably early 19th century. Very well painted. Has this back on it with the phoenix swirling around. Nicely done. The only problem with this bowl is it had been badly abused. Something happened to it. You'll see there's missing enamel all the way around it. All this red, these red areas, that's the copper showing through underneath where the thing had been bashed, it looks like. Maybe somebody threw it, who knows. But nonetheless, it did pretty well. It brought $360, and it's a heck of a decoration for a very modest amount of money. If it hadn't been damaged, it probably would have brought several thousand pretty easily. Nice classical early 19th century decoration, almost Qianlong in style. And there was this plate. This is Japanese Arita. Looks just like the Wan Li ones. Everybody's seen them. And if you're not really familiar with them, if you see one of these, just flip it over. And you look at the back. And when you see these spur patterns, okay, you know right away it's a Japanese dish if you have any questions in your mind. Some of them are quite convincing as Chinese. And also this blackening effect here and here. The Japanese at this time were sort of in their earliest years of making blue and white porcelain. They hadn't made a lot of it. And this is a nice early 18th century piece. But still, nice object, very nice object. And they go very reasonably. This one was only $306. And it was put up by a seller over in Taunton in the United Kingdom. He's another fellow we do pay attention to. He gets good things. And this was another plate that I liked. I thought this was extremely pretty. Beautiful, strong, vibrant colors. And it's got the two-tone sort of leaves. You got the bluish-green leaves. Then you have the green, light green. And I like this little pink border when that's added. Just very nice plate. Here's the back of it. There it is. Quite classical, typical mid-18th century dish. And it went reasonably, $165. Heck of a thing for under $200. And it was sold by a seller over in France that we see once in a while. They have a lot of other things up, but a lot of it isn't Chinese, so we don't pay a lot of attention to it. And there was this large famille vert planter, or jardiniere they were calling it, I think. I think it's an early 20th century one more than a late 19th. I think they had it late 19th. It doesn't really matter. It's a nice old one. And here's the bottom of it. That to me looks like a little bit later than the 19th century, maybe 1900, 1910. It's hard to tell. But a beautifully done one. On this side you have birds and a landscape, which are nicely done. And then on this side you have precious objects with flowers coming out of them, and all these different vases and forms, and incense burners, and pots with scrolls coming out of them, and a peach over here. Just a good thing. And went for $2,664, which is a good price from Grand Pip. And that's it for the results from last week. You can go back and check them and go and see what they brought yourself. This is sort of some of them. And Joni's up in Canada has a big sale of stuff ending on Monday and Tuesday of this coming week. And this, to me, is one of the most interesting things in the sale. It's a really terrific Korean iron with gold and silver inlaid table box. It's about a foot wide and tall or so, over iron. But it's wonderfully done. Very, very interesting box. If you like antiquities and early objects, this looks like an 18th century piece of Korean metalwork to me, but just wonderful design, very, very attractive. And it's only up to about $229. I think that's a terrific thing. How they can ship it to me from Canada for $40 is beyond me. They must have really good shipping deals. And the next thing I wanted to mention is you can come over to the site, and if you come over to the BidAmount site here and you click Dealers and Auctioneers, it'll bring you to the page for there's a Christie's button. And we just uploaded these 5 Christie sales coming up in late May in Hong Kong. They have actually 2 catalogs that are single lot sales. There's this absolutely fabulous looking, where is it? Right here. This absolutely fabulous Yongchen period amphora. There it is. Just extremely pretty, extremely rare. It's been auctioned a couple of times in the last 20 or 30 years, as I recall, but this is one of the greats. It'll bring millions, I suspect, if it sells. You never know these days. And they also have this, the Imperial Chinese Ceramics Catalog. Some excellent examples in here all over. Very, very nice. And if you go in and take a look, you'll see there's also a very nice Imperial Kisi scroll. I wanted to mention this. These don't turn up very often. Imperial Kisis are extremely rare. And at the Fujita sale last month, we saw what Imperial scrolls can bring. So it'll be very interesting to see how this does. It has a fairly modest estimate of $300,000 to $450,000. And if it gets traction, it could bring an awful lot of money. It's a great object. And there's also a single lot sale by Zhang Daquan, one of his greatest paintings, and there's some archaic jades and other things. Sotheby's also has some sales coming up. We're working on those catalogs to get those up. They have 2 sales, primarily jades in Hong Kong, right after the Christie sales wrap up. All right, and that's about it. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll work on another video. We did a new video this week, incidentally, on Famille Rose, in case you haven't seen it. It's a sort of an overview of it, an introduction to Famille Rose enamels. And we do a few more, maybe on Famille Vert and Wutsai and Daosai and Sankai and all those other colors that people love in monochromes. All right, have a great weekend, and see you next time. We're working on the newsletter to get it done this afternoon, as always, and thanks for visiting. Bye-bye.